Hi, back again. It's another week. On time today because I had the day off. Yay! It's either a federal holiday or a state holiday. Um, I can't remember. I think it's Lincoln's birthday. I know next week is President's Day, so I think it's Lincoln's birthday. Whatever, whose birthday it was. Happy birthday! I had the day off. Yay! So happy about that. Got to enjoy my day off. But back again, last week there was the beginning of the end for the Flash. Um, and they, so that it was since it was February 8th. So it was February 8th, but they, the week they in the episode, it was a week earlier. It was like February 1st, but it was like Groundhog's Day. The movie, they kept reliving the episode, kept reliving the day over and over and over again, and they had to figure out what they had to do in order to stop the day from reliving. And they were pretty sure it was something Barry did Barry did that got them caught in the time loop, because it's always something that Barry did. Because Barry had created this whole book of their future. He's taken all the things that he's learned of their future, their future timeline, from things that they've learned from the children, and that they've learned from Gideon, that AI, computer AI, and he's pieced together their future, and it's like, okay, so on this day this has to happen, so this can happen and that can happen and this can happen, and as long as we follow this book, then everything will be all right. And, and Iris was like, I'm not about that life. And she was like, nope, I am not doing this. I am not following no book for the rest of my life. I would stay in this time loop rather than follow a book for the rest of my life. So they had to work out how to deal with that. But it was fun. It was interesting seeing how, they were seeing the two of them each, how they each approached each day, every new day, and how they approached and how they tried to tackle each day, and how they tried to make, figure it out. And it was interesting. I liked it. It was a cute little episode. And of course, the end of the episode, they introduce the new Caitlin character, because she's not Caitlin, but she's not Frost. She's this new character that Caitlin created because Caitlin was trying to get Frost back. But we have no idea who she is, or if Caitlin is ever going to come back. So will be your first no trailer, avoiding at all costs. Yes, it's very doable. I avoid all trailers. I'm able to avoid all trailers, all scene stills, all pictures from movies, any type of um like production, um anything advertising the movie, any type of production advertising, I'm able to do. Oh, see what I do for Twitter, I mute. So whenever it comes up on whenever like the new movie, especially when it's uh especially when you get to like a month out and people really start talking about it. But I mute it. You can mute stuff for like a month. You can mute it for like a little while. You can mute it forever, but I usually mute it for a month, and then I have to keep remuting it or whatever. But like I would mute the words, the name, the title of the movie, and that's what I did for every single movie, for like Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, all that. Mute it, and you don't see anything, and it keeps you spoiler free. Oh well, I don't watch commercials. I mute all commercials, so I automatically mute commercials. So if I just see a commercial come up, I look away. I look away. But especially in a lot of times when you watch these shows on the CW for the WB movies, they're going to show like extended cuts of the movies. Like, they're like, oh, tonight we're going to show you an extended clip of such and such movie. I just mute it and not watch. And just come back when the show comes back. So it it's work, but I do it. I do the work, and it's and I make it work. See, I don't watch sports, so I don't know how often movie commercials are in with sports. So yeah. Yeah, on Twitter, I mute the topic. I completely mute. I mute all hashtags. I mute like all iterations of the name that could possibly come up with. So the Flash movie, like anything that you can think of, like say Spider-Man, No Way Home. It was like Spider-Man, No Way Home, No Way Home. All those little different iterations of the title to make sure I caught all the mutes and was able to get it. So it's a little bit of work. It's a little bit of work, but it's worth it. It's worth it because um for instance, not the Flash, Thor Ragnarok. I went into there having not seen any trailer, and I hadn't seen any pictures, not no prop, no scene stills or anything. So when I watched the movie, that whole lightning thing that Thor was doing was totally new to me, and it was so rad seeing it for the first time in the theater. So when he was fighting um the Hulk and them lightning eyes came out, I was like, what the hell was that? But I experienced it for the first time in the theater because I did not watch it. I did not watch trailers. No trailer merch. I'll put it in my The Fairy Princess store. um, okay. So yeah. So that so so you try to see how it goes. it works because like the very first time I did it was eons ago, back when um this thing called Blockbuster was a thing. And there was this movie called The Arrival with Charlie Sheen, and it was about aliens. And we rented that movie, had no idea what the thing was about, watched it. It was excellent. After that, I was like, I'm watching movies like this for the rest of my life. It was great. It was great. And it hasn't let me down. It hasn't let me down going in blind. Just going in blind always enhances the experience for me. Because a lot of the times with movies, all of the best parts are in the trailer. And a lot of times they tell you but afterwards I will go and I watch the trailer after I see the movie, and you can see the beginning, middle, and end of the trailer. Like you will see some of the climax in the trailer. And I'm like, they put everything in the trailer. So it's too spoilery for me. So I avoid trailers for that. Yeah. The best parts are in the trailer. Best parts. So I avoid the trailer. So it's just to the point where I have to know whether or not I'm just gonna go see a movie in if I'm interested. If it's like there's certain type of movies I'm going to go see in the theater. You know, a comic book movie, yes. Action movies, yes. Sci-fi movies, yes. I'm seeing these movies. Fantasy movies, yes. I'm seeing these movies in theaters. So when I hear about a movie like that, I'm going to see that in the theater. And I don't need to see a trailer for that. Like the Dungeons and Dragons, they're starting to show trailers for that. I don't need to see a trailer for that. I'm going to see the Dungeons and Dragons movie. So, okay. So first up, before we get into DC, let's talk about some voice AI stealing people's voices. Voice actors are having their voices stolen by AI. Frida Wolf, Steve Bloom, and others are calling on the community to help stop synthetic voices from dominating the voice acting industry. Towards the end of 2022, there was a big boom in AI generated art on social media and artist friendly sites such as ArtStation. Though human artists have been quite vocal about how art generators are copying art that already exists from real creators, AI art is gradually becoming a part of that community in other parts of various entertainment industries, such as books or music. And now a similar problem is arising in the voice acting space. Earlier in the week, Motherboard reported a story on how video game voice actors are now being asked to sign their voice rights away to company-run AI voice generators when signing on for a new project. Some actors have been made to sign contracts with these clauses built in. Others don't even know the clauses exist until after they've signed. Either way, the concern that these AI voices will take roles from actors of all sizes is very real, particularly for those who are trying to get into the industry. Frida Wolf, a voice actor best known for Apex Legends, told Motherboard what AI generated voices could mean for human actors and getting paid properly, particularly those who work with game developers and animation studios. They could get away with squeezing more performances out of me through feeding my voice to AI using these generated performances and then never compensating me for use of my likeness. Never mind informing my agency that this was done. Similarly, Sungwon Cho added that it was disrespectful to the craft to suggest that generating a performance is equivalent to a real human being's performance. You can get it to sound tonally like a voice and maybe even make it sound like it's capturing an emotion. But at the end of the day, it is still going to ring hollow and false. Okay, here's a tweet by Steve Bloom. Hey friends, I know AI technology is exciting, but if you see my voice or any of the characters that I voiced offered on any of those sites, please know that I have not given my permission and never will. This is highly unethical. We all appreciate your support. Thank you. In addition to Cho, longtime voice actors such as Steve Bloom, Kara Edwards, and Stephanie Shea recently used Twitter to ask fans to let actors know when their voices are being used on AI voice apps. I know AI technology is exciting, but if you see my voice, what I just read, when it comes to AI art and voices, consent has been one of the key points of concern. In a lot of cases, the artists whose work is being used for AI aren't giving their explicit consent to be a part of this. It's fans or websites that are making the choice for them. Actor Sarah Emila stressed to Motherboard that for performances, consent must be ongoing. What happens when we happily agree to a role and once in the booth, we see a particular line in the script that doesn't feel right and express unambiguous discomfort? Normally, we are able to refuse to read the line to prevent it from being used. This technology obviously circumvents that entirely. Between actors signing their voices away to AI companies and studios actively getting in bed with this technology, it's safe to say that AI will be a part of the broader entertainment industry for some time. It's honestly pretty depressing to see the optimization mindset of the tech industry applied to artistically minded fields, as much as its vocal proponents like to go on about how much this is the future. It's not one to look forward to if that means getting rid of the passion and hard work that can only come from a human touch. Yeah. I I don't know about this whole AI generated art. The whole AI generated art, like, because especially because it has to use other people's art in order to learn how to make, because so basically it's copying other people's style in order to generate their art. So they can't, it would be different if it could come up with its own from scratch, but it can't. So the same goes with this voice generated AI. Here's the thing: voice actors will not be extinct in 20 years if the consumer doesn't say so, because it's all about what the consumer accepts. If the consumer accepts these stale emotionless voices, then yeah, the AI voice will um, take over in voiceovers. But like, if the consumer is like, if something comes out with absolutely no real voices and it's all AI generated and people don't like it and it doesn't sell well, then it's not going to take over, because the bottom line is more important to them. And AI voice may be cheaper, but if people don't want it, then they're not going to go that way. So it's really up to the consumer to it's up to the consumer to keep this from happening. Oh, if only that were possible, but I don't think that I don't think you can patent your voice or copy. Yeah, you can't patent or trademark your voice. But the only thing they can do is in those contracts that they is not sign away their voice in the contract. That's the most you can do is not sign away your voice in the contract. But they're being forced to sign these contracts so they can fight this. That can be they can fight the, these contracts that they're being forced to sign. They can fight that. But I'm also thinking about agree most voice acting is kids' movies or cartoons, and parents won't care whose voice it is as long as the kids like it. But will the kids like it? You, people underestimate children and think that they don't have taste, but children have taste too. And they may not be able to articulate it, but they'll be able to say something ain't right with that, and they won't like it. If they don't like it, then it will flop. So I mean, a bad movie is still a bad movie. You can't just give a bad movie to children and be like, hey, it's for kids. So they'll take anything. Kids have tastes. They don't just accept everything. There are things that they're like, I don't care for this. I ain't watching this. When my nephew was a baby, he had distinguishing taste. Like there were certain things he would watch. He watched good movies. He liked musicals. He liked good musicals. He didn't watch it. We couldn't just put on a movie for him to watch. He wouldn't watch everything. There were certain movies we had to put on for him, and that would grab his attention. Everything was not going to grab his attention. Everything was not going to make him sit still and sit down and watch for an hour and a half. Regina King is the best. Yes, with that. Yes. I love her doing the two brothers is awesome. She deserves an award for doing Laura, Huey, and Riley. Um, yes, they do. And also the thing that I'm also thinking about is video games, because that's another thing that they would use these voice actors for, is video games. And adults, the people who buy video games are the most particular group of consumers. And if they don't, they will pick a video game apart if they don't like it. So yeah, I if they don't like the voice acting, I don't think I don't know. I don't know. In certain video games, but the way some video games are, these video games that tell stories, you can't really get away with that. Yeah, I saw that there was some talk. There was some talk of boycotting, but it was sort of half and half. Some people were like, "I want to boycott it because of J.K. Rowling." Other people were like, "I'm not boycotting Harry Potter Legacy." Other people were like, "I am buying Harry Potter Legacy no matter what." So it was sort of split down the middle between people who are like I who are giving up on Harry Potter altogether because of JK, and other people who were like, I can hate JK and hold on to Harry Potter. So there are people who are like, I can like Harry Potter and not like JK Rowling. So it's like people have separated her from her IP, and that's how they go along. That's how they go along with continue with, especially with things like the Harry Potter legacy. They've completely separated her from it. This is not a new book. This is just a video game. Really. But I did see on Twitter there was still a good amount of people on Twitter who were still saying, I'm not gonna not buy the Harry Potter legacy. I'm getting it anyway. So I feel like there was people in both camps. There were people in both camps because I did see it trending. I did see Harry Potter legacy trending, and I saw it trending because of that, which was I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's to be expected, but I guess the people who made the game was hoping that people would continue to separate JK from the IP and continue to love Harry Potter despite all the things she said. But it's one thing to continue to like the books and the movies. It's another thing to go along with brand new things, completely new things. Yeah. A lot of people said they wanted to get the game. A lot of people were saying like they were going to get the game. Um, so okay, so next is Batgirl. Let's see. Well, we are Leslie Grace. Okay. Leslie Grace still sees the potential in her Batgirl in spite of it all. Speaking in her first interview since the DC movie was scrapped for tax write offs, Grace talks about DC's new direction and her potential future in it. Even as DC Studios looks to the future with James Gunn's and Peter Safran's new slate of movies, the specter of Warner Brothers' decision to axe Batgirl before its completion as a tax write off still lingers, especially for star Leslie Grace, who still sees hope for her future in the cowl, even as she reveals just how poorly the film scrapping was handled. Speaking to Variety in her first full interview since Batgirl was canceled last August, Grace touched upon how out of the loop she was kept during the process of her headlining DC role before being put out to pasture. I found out like the rest of you, Grace told the trade, referring to the news reports that broke the movie's cancellation. And then my phone just started blowing up. It was like a deflating balloon. On that day, I was very much just taking it all in, but also so sure of the magic that happened in my experience and what I saw in my cast, in our team, that I was like, this must be some crazy thing that we have no control over. Grace also noted that she has yet to speak with new DC overlords James Gunn and Peter Safran, even as the duo publicly revealed their new lineup of DC projects across film and TV earlier this month. And even as Safran in particular publicly disparaged that Batgirl was not releasable during the proceedings. And that's the next article I'm going to read. I had my own meetings with Warner Brothers Film Group CEOs Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca, and they explained to me on a granular level what they felt about the project, things that were out of their hands, plans and budgets that were set in place before they were even part of the team, Grace said of Safran's comments. There are a lot of things that I learned through the experience about movie making that as an actress you have no control over. They weren't really specific on anything creative in terms of what they felt about the film and how it would have hurt DC creatively. But I'm a human being and people have perceptions and people read things, she continued. And when words are expressed very lightly about work that people really dedicated a lot of time to, not just myself, but the whole crew, I can understand how it could be frustrating. In spite of the way she was kept in the dark about the decisions made over Batgirl, Grace still has some optimism about people actually getting to see her in Barbara Gordon's Batcow at some point, noting that she still talks to directors Adele El Arbi and Bilal Fallah about sequel ideas or ponders the possibility of Batman Expanded Universe on, giving a home to take to her take on Barbara. We've definitely had conversations about Batgirl's future and how Batgirl can make a resurgence. I think fans are looking forward to seeing that. Grace concluded, we'll just see where that takes us. I can't say one way or the other if that is a reality at this point. I can't speak too much about a future for Batgirl or guarantee anything. The last thing that I would want to do is give folks any kind of inkling of something that I have not much control over, as we've learned. So, and then the next article, which is uh, about Batgirl, and it's about what James Gunn and Peter Safran said about Batgirl. So, DC Studios' new heads say the canceled Batgirl film was not releasable. The shelved movie didn't fit within the new slate of films James Gunn and Peter Safran have planned. During the press event where DC Studios rolled out its planned projects for the future of the DC Universe, new co-heads James Gunn and Peter Safran outlined what to expect and also what not to expect. The latter includes any chance of seeing Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah's canceled Batgirl movie. Batgirl is a character that inevitably we will include in our story, Variety quoted Peter Safran as saying at the presentation. On the Batgirl front, it's not about late in the process of the filming of the it's not about late in the process of the film getting canceled. I saw the movie and there are a lot of incredibly talented people in front of and behind the camera on that film, but the film was not releasable. and it happens sometimes. That film was not releasable. I actually think that President and CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav, and the team made a very bold and courageous decision to cancel it because it would have hurt DC. It would have hurt those people involved. The film was pulled during the formation of Warner Brothers Discovery, much to the disappointment of fans looking to support the Leslie Grace-led film. Safran clarified that he and Gunn are still open to working with the talent behind the film. I think they really stood up to support DC, the characters, the story, the quality of all of that. I spoke to Adil El Arbi and Bilal Falah, the directors, last week. We were chatting. We'd love to be in business with all those folks. Christina Hodson wrote it. Some people are already back in business with us. As I said, a lot of talented people were involved, but the film just was not releasable. It would not have been able to compete in the theatrical marketplace. It was built for the small screen. So, again, I think it was not an easy decision, but they made the right decision by shelving it. So, that's it on the Batgirl front. It's a dead end. Okay, that's a weird thing to say. Of course, it was built for the. Of course, it couldn't compete on the theatrical front. It was made. It was a direct to streaming release. It was supposed to be. It was made for HBO Max. It was supposed to be released on HBO Max. So now I'm really wondering, because they made it seem like, oh, it wasn't releasable, it was bad, it was horrible. But then he was like, it is not, it couldn't be theatrical. It wasn't meant to be theatrical. It wasn't supposed to be theatrical. It was supposed to be a TV movie. Batman and DC anime movies, and Batgirl rarely makes an appearance. Well, yeah. Batgirl was in the Batman, that animated TV show, with the young Batman. They had Barbara Gordon and they had Dick Grayson, young Robin. Although, um, although I liked the Batman, but I feel like once they added her into the show, something sort of changed about the show, and it got a little it something changed about the show once they added her in. Oh, she got paid. They did not pay her just because it didn't get dropped. She still got paid. Yeah, he tried to, qualify it and say, oh, the people in front of the camera and behind the camera did really, really good work. That movie was not releasable. And then to turn around and say it wouldn't compete theatrically, and it was never meant to compete theatrically. So that's where I am. Something is not computing here. It can't be worse than Morbius. I haven't seen Morbius. I was told not to watch Morbius. Um and I've heard people describe Morbius, and I yeah, I'm not gonna watch Morbius. So I don't think it could be worse than Morbius either. And but the I'm starting to doubt because, like, he was like, it's not releasable, but then he was saying it's not theatrical. So I'm starting to doubt that it was bad. He just said it wasn't releasable. That's the difference between not releasable and bad. He didn't say it was bad, he said it was not releasable. And then he said it's not theatrical. It was built for the small screen. See, all that double talk, and it's like, so if you're gonna say a movie is bad, say a movie is bad, because you just said absolutely nothing. It was supposed to be a straight for release, streaming release, a straight to streaming release. It was always meant to be a straight to streaming release. It was never meant to be a theatrical release. It was not supposed to compete theatrically. So how does this make it not releasable? I don't understand I don't understand your logic. I'm not understanding the logic. Go ahead. I'm pretty sure David Zaslav deleted everything because, he's evil. Um, uh, he's the one who would have control over all of that. He made sure everything was gone so he can have his tax write off. I really don't like him, but whatever. We got James Gunn, so he did something right. He did one thing right. He did one thing right. So, but that is the only slack I'm ever going to give him. Ever, ever, ever. Velma has been renewed for a second season. Well, there you go. If it's been renewed, then people are watching it. Enough people, because they are chopping things left and right. So enough people must have been watching it for it to have been renewed for a second season. Because they haven't cared about people's contracts or what was promised to them before. They have been canceling things left and right. So a lot of people must have been watching. Well, enough people have watched it in order for Velma to get its second season. So who knows? Maybe it did improve. Maybe one day I will go and check it out to see how it improves. It won't be any day soon, but maybe someday. Someday I will go and check it out. Someday I'll give it another chance. Someday. It, Someday. But not not today. Not today. As they say, uh what does the God of death say? Oh no, what do you say to the God of death? Not today. Um okay, so I shall be back on Wednesday. And of course, as usual, a video on Friday. Don't know what that is yet, but we will have a video. And thanks for watching.